Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the construction of the Ark of the Covenant
Oh, wow.
and all the other holy furnishings
Yeah.
described in Exodus chapter 37.
It's like we're peeking right over the shoulders of these ancient craftsmen
Right.
with this incredible level of detail.
It's really unbelievable.
It really is. What's so fascinating is that these descriptions
Yeah.
aren't just about, measurements and materials.
Right.
They give us this amazing glimpse
Yeah.
into the beliefs and values,
Yeah.
the everyday lives, even of the Israelites who crafted these objects.
I've always been kind of struck by the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh, yeah.
2.5 cubits long,
Uh-huh.
overlaid with pure gold inside and out.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to imagine it as just like a fancy box.
Right.
But it sounds like it was so much more than that.
Oh, absolutely. We have to remember,
Yeah. Yeah.
the ark was built to hold those tablets of the Ten Commandments.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't just any old storage chest.
Mm.
This was meant to be like the physical representation
Right.
of God's covenant with his people.
Yeah.
And the gold, well, in ancient Israelite culture, gold symbolized divine presence and purity.
Oh.
So by overlaying the ark with gold,
Yeah.
they weren't just showing off their wealth or anything like that. They were really emphasizing visually
Yeah.
its sacredness and its role as a vessel for God's word.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the mercy seat.
Yeah.
Also pure gold,
Right.
with those two cherubims sculpted right onto it.
Hi.
Their wings are covering the seat.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a powerful image.
It really is.
Yeah.
The mercy seat was where God was believed to dwell among his people.
Oh, wow.
Think of it like a symbolic throne.
Okay.
The cherubim with their outstretched wings
Yeah.
represented God's presence and protection,
Mm-hmm.
watching over the ark and the sacred tablets within.
Okay, so we've got the Ark,
Yeah.
this incredibly ornate and symbolic chest, and the mercy seat, which is almost like a throne room for God.
Right.
But Exodus 37,
Yeah.
it doesn't stop there.
No, it doesn't.
It goes on to describe this whole array of sacred furnishings,
Yeah.
each with its own specific purpose and symbolism.
Exactly. So there's the table for the showbread,
Okay.
also covered in gold,
Mm-hmm.
with specific dishes and bowls
Wow.
outlined in the text.
Yeah.
Every detail was carefully considered, you see,
Right.
reflecting their belief that
Mhm.
even like the smallest aspects of their worship mattered.
It's incredible how much detail
I know
is packed into these descriptions.
it is.
And then there's the candlestick.
Yes.
7 lamps,
Uh-huh.
all made from beaten gold.
Right.
I'm trying to imagine the craftsmanship that went into creating
Right.
something so intricate.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it?
Yeah.
These objects weren't simply functional.
Okay.
They were meant to inspire awe and reflect the glory of God.
Mm-hmm.
The 7 lamps of the candlestick, for instance,
Yep.
they might have symbolized the 7 days of creation
Oh,
or the completeness of God's light.
interesting.
Every detail from the
Right.
materials to the design
Yeah.
was infused with meaning.
It makes you wonder what it was like to be one of those craftsmen
Oh, yeah.
pouring their heart and soul into creating these objects.
Right.
We've covered the Ark, the mercy seat, the table,
Right.
and the candlestick.
Mm-hmm.
What else is on this ancient blueprint?
Well, next up we have the incense altar.
Okay.
It's described as being a cubit long and wide
Mm-hmm.
and 2 cubits high.
Okay.
Picture it almost like a small ornate fireplace,
Mm-hmm.
crafted from acacia wood and overlaid with gold.
Okay, so acacia wood, is that significant?
It is. Shittim wood, as it's called in the text,
Okay.
is thought to be from the acacia tree.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just a random choice.
Right.
Acacia wood was prized for its durability
Okay.
and resistance to insects,
Yeah.
perfect for objects that were meant to last. But there could be a symbolic element as well.
Oh, interesting.
The acacia tree thrives in these harsh desert environments, you see,
Yeah.
representing resilience and steadfast faith
Mm-hmm.
in the face of adversity.
So even the choice of wood was meaningful.
Right.
It really shows how deeply their faith was woven into every aspect
Absolutely.
of their lives.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Right in the middle of all these construction details, there's this line that always catches my eye. And he made the holy anointing oil and the pure incense of sweet spices according to the work of the apothecary.
Right.
It's like they needed a whole team of specialists.
That line is so revealing.
Yeah.
It highlights the diverse skills
Right.
involved in creating these sacred objects. We've got woodworking, metalworking, and now we're adding a whole other layer.
Right.
the expertise of an early apothecary.
So this wasn't just about construction.
Yeah.
It was about creating a multi-sensory experience.
Exactly.
The flickering lamplight, the scent of incense,
Right.
the gleam of gold. Can you imagine what
Yeah.
it would have been like to step inside the tabernacle with all these objects in place?
It must have been awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
These objects weren't just static displays.
Right.
They were part of a living, breathing religious practice designed to bring people closer to God.
Yeah.
And speaking of those sensory experiences,
Okay.
let's dive a little deeper into the materials and the craftsmanship behind these incredible objects.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack some of these details.
Okay.
We've talked about the gold and that acacia wood,
Right.
but I'm really curious about that actual construction process. Exodus 37 keeps mentioning this beaten work,
Yeah.
especially when it's describing the candlestick.
That's a great observation. Beaten work refers to a technique where gold was hammered into these incredibly thin sheets.
Wow.
And then meticulously shaped into the desired forms.
So I'm trying to picture these craftsmen
Yeah.
hammering away for hours on end, creating these intricate details.
Right.
It must have taken years to complete all of these objects.
It likely did. And remember, they weren't working with modern tools or anything like that.
Right.
Their hammers and anvils would have been much simpler,
Yeah.
making the process even more challenging.
That's pretty amazing.
But it really emphasizes the dedication and skill involved.
It's mind-boggling.
It is.
And speaking of details,
Mm-hmm.
Exodus 37 gets really specific
Right.
about the dimensions of these objects. Like the ark, it's 2.5 cubits long,
Okay.
a cubit and a half wide, a cubit and a half high.
Right.
Those are pretty precise measurements.
They are. And it's tempting to kind of dismiss those as simply practical considerations.
Yo.
But in ancient cultures,
Yeah.
numbers often held symbolic meanings.
So you're saying these numbers might have been chosen
Yeah.
for more than just their practical value?
Absolutely. Let's take the ark as an example.
Okay.
The number 2 often represents duality and balance,
Right.
essential concepts in their understanding of God and creation.
Okay.
5, on the other hand, symbolized completeness and divine grace.
Wow.
So the dimensions of the ark might have been intentionally chosen
Yeah.
to reflect these deeper meanings.
That's fascinating.
Isn't it?
It's like they're embedding these layers of meaning into every aspect of the design.
Exactly.
And it makes you really appreciate the thought and intention that went into creating these objects.
It really does.
And it wasn't just the physical objects themselves. We
Right.
talked earlier about the mention of the holy anointing oil
Yeah.
and the pure incense of sweet spices. Can we talk a bit more about that?
Absolutely. Those details really bring to life
Okay.
that sensory experience that was likely part of the tabernacle. Imagine the flickering lamplight from that 7-branched candlestick
Okay.
casting those dancing shadows on all the gold-covered surfaces.
Right.
And then the scent of the incense wafting through the air, creating this atmosphere of reverence and sanctity.
I can almost smell it.
Right.
It must have been a truly immersive experience.
It must have been.
And it really highlights how skilled that apothecary must have been.
Oh, yeah.
We often think of craftsmanship in terms of like woodworking
Right.
or metalworking,
Mm-hmm.
but creating these scents and oils
Yeah,
was an art form in itself.
exactly. The apothecary played a crucial role
Yeah.
in crafting that sacred atmosphere of the tabernacle.
Okay.
They would have to be so knowledgeable
All right.
about all these different herbs, oils, and resins, understanding their properties
Yeah.
and how to blend them
Okay.
to create specific scents and effects.
It's making me rethink our whole conversation.
Oh, really?
We started by focusing on the physical objects,
Right.
the ark, the table, the candlestick.
Yeah.
But those objects were just one part of a much larger sensory and spiritual experience.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
These objects weren't meant to be admired in isolation.
Okay.
They were part of a living, breathing religious practice.
Right.
And the incense,
Mm-hmm.
the anointing oil, the flickering lamplight, all of these elements
Yeah.
contributed to a powerful and multisensory encounter with the divine.
And it wasn't just about creating a beautiful and awe-inspiring space.
Right.
Was there a deeper meaning behind these scents and oils?
Definitely. The use of fragrance in religious rituals
Okay.
is something we see across many different cultures and time periods.
Interesting.
Incense, for example, was often seen as a way to purify the air and create a sacred space.
Okay.
and the anointing oil.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anointing someone with oil was a symbolic act,
Right.
representing their being set apart for a specific purpose or role.
So these scents and oils weren't just about
Right.
creating a pleasant atmosphere. They
Right.
were imbued with spiritual significance, adding another layer of meaning to the entire experience.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that for the Israelites,
Okay.
their faith wasn't just something abstract or theoretical.
Yeah.
It was something they lived and breathed,
Mm-hmm.
something that permeated every aspect of their lives,
Right.
even down to the smallest details
Okay.
of their sacred objects and rituals.
It's amazing how something as simple as like a scent
Right.
can hold so much meaning and power.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
It really makes you think about how we experience the world
Mm-hmm.
through our senses
Sure.
and how those senses can be used
Mm-hmm.
to deepen our connection
Yeah,
to something larger than ourselves.
that's a wonderful insight.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think we often overlook
Yeah.
in our modern world, where
Mm.
we tend to prioritize the visual
Right?
over all these other senses.
Mm.
But for the Israelites,
Yeah.
the tabernacle was this place
Okay.
where all of the senses were engaged,
Right.
creating a truly immersive and transformative experience.
You know, we've been talking a lot about
Yeah.
the craftsmanship and symbolism of
Yeah.
these objects.
Right.
But I'm curious,
Okay.
what do you think was going through the minds
Mhm.
of the people who actually built these things?
Oh,
What was their experience like?
it's a question that sparks the imagination, isn't it?
It really does.
Try to picture yourself
Okay.
as one of those craftsmen.
Mm-hmm.
You're hammering gold into these thin sheets,
Okay.
meticulously shaping it
Yeah.
into the form of a cherub's wing
Wow.
or the curve of a lampstand.
Okay.
You're surrounded by the sounds of hammers ringing,
Right.
the scent of acacia wood and incense in the air.
Mm-hmm.
It must have been physically demanding work,
Yeah.
but also incredibly fulfilling.
I can imagine there was this real sense of purpose in their work,
Right.
knowing that they were creating something sacred,
Mhm.
something that would be used to connect people
Mm-hmm.
to the divinal.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about
Okay.
the individual craftsman
Yeah.
either.
Mhm.
It was a communal effort
Right.
with different groups of people working together.
Okay.
The woodworkers, the metal workers, the weavers, the apothecaries, each contributing their own unique skills
Right.
to the creation of this sacred space.
It's a beautiful image.
It is.
All of these people working together,
Yeah.
united by a common purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you wonder if there are lessons we can learn from them,
Oh, yeah.
even thousands of years later. I mean, we
Mhm.
live in a world
Right.
that often feels divided and fragmented.
Right.
But here we have this example of people coming together,
Mm.
putting their individual talents and skills
Right.
towards something larger than themselves.
You're raising an important point.
Yeah.
The construction of the tabernacle and its furnishings
Right.
wasn't just a practical task.
Okay.
It was an act of faith,
Yeah.
an expression of their collective beliefs and values.
Mhm.
And perhaps it's a reminder
Yeah.
that even in our modern world,
Okay.
we still have that capacity
Whoa.
to come together,
Yeah.
to collaborate and create things
Mhm.
that are both beautiful and meaningful.
That's a great thought.
Yeah.
And it ties in perfectly with what we've been discussing today. The craftsmanship,
Mm-hmm.
the symbolism, the
Mhm.
sensory experience, the
Yeah.
sense of community.
Right.
It all comes together to create something
Mm-hmm.
truly extraordinary.
And it reminds us
Yeah.
that even though these objects were created thousands of years ago,
Right.
their stories
Mm-hmm.
continue to resonate with us today.
They do.
They invite us to consider our own beliefs and values,
Right.
our own relationship to the sacred, and the ways we express those things
Right.
in our lives.
It's been such a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
And it leaves us with so much to ponder.
Mm.
What other hidden meanings
Right.
might be embedded within these ancient texts?
Mm-hmm.
What can we learn
Mhm.
from the Israelites' dedication to craftsmanship
Uh-huh.
and their holistic approach to spirituality?
Hmm.
And how can we apply those lessons
Right.
to our own lives and communities today?
Those are wonderful questions to contemplate. And perhaps the most important takeaway is this.
Okay.
Even the smallest details
Yeah.
can hold profound meaning,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a carefully crafted object,
Right.
a thoughtfully prepared meal,
Mm-hmm.
or a moment of shared connection.
Okay.
We all have that power
Yeah.
to infuse our lives with intention and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Just like those ancient craftsmen.
Right.
We can create things
Yeah.
that are both beautiful and meaningful
Mm-hmm.
things that inspire awe and connect us to something larger than ourselves.
That's a beautiful thought to end on.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey.
It's been my pleasure.
Into the world of biblical craftsmanship. Until next time. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.